along. The presentation slides and the additional resources will be on our NCRA Zero Waste Schools page. And I highly recommend folks to check out that spreadsheet because it continually gets updated as we have additional resources. Okay, so for today, our lineup is we have in the house, Mr. Eco, Brett Edwards, environmental rap superhero. And then we're thrilled to have the local leaders of the 21st century joining us from Pleasanton Unified. And then Litterati, Alina Bekkerman will be sharing out on the Litterati app and sharing out on programs for schools. So we'll have the 3 presenters and then question and answer, and then kind of an open discussion about sharing resources, all with today's focus is on how do we get students, faculty, staff to support the program and to have them sorting properly, right? So it's the physical infrastructure that we've done in the past versus today, it's that social infrastructure. So I am so thrilled. I'm so honored. I'm so excited that we have Mr. Eco, Brett in the house today. I had the honor and privilege of meeting him. I think Brett, you're like in your first year going out, and he happened to be he was offering his services to schools in California, and he was visiting the Bay Area, and he was going to one of the Oakland Unified schools. So I got to see his presentation and I was floored. These kids are off the hook. I have never seen such an energetic group of kids and just so enlivened with his presentation. Yeah, so I'm gonna pass the torch to you, Mr. Eco. Thank you so much for taking out time and coming today to share about your work.
Thank you, Nancy. Hello, everybody. I am a little nervous presenting to adults. I'm usually in front of children wearing a cape, which sounds oddly like that would be when I would be nervous. But anyways, I am gonna share my screen here and pull up a little presentation. Okay, so I am Brett. I believe that monumental change begins with youth, and I combine my passions for hip hop and sustainability into an environmental rap superhero, Mr. Eco, which became the Eco Hero show that uses music to empower and educate children to become environmental activists called Eco Heroes. And engagement and getting people excited is what really the focus of why I created the character, because as you all know, there are some major big issues and scary issues that we're dealing with. And getting people to care is often the toughest part, and that's the first step. So I wanted to create something that would get people excited and present the material in a fun way. And I'm going to give a little, I know this is breaking the cardinal rule of presentations, but just to give an example of impact, and I'll read it out loud because it's long, but this is a YouTube comment from a student that reached out after a show. So I'm not sure if you remember me because it was several years ago, but you visited my elementary school called Harlow. I'm now a freshman in high school. I need to give you a lot of credit for how you changed me. Before I was your average run-in-the-mill crazed about video games. Now I'm part of a student council, encouraging community service and aspiring to become law enforcement ranger of the National Park Service. It wasn't all you that turned me out to be like this, but you definitely hit on the switch. I have mad respect for your work and hope you can spread this knowledge to young students everywhere. And so that's what keeps me going, seeing that type of impact. And there are students who have started recycling at their schools, or teachers in green teams that use the Eco Hero concept to keep the message going throughout the year. And that's what I'm hoping, if you are at a school that you can use, show my music videos, show the music, and kind of just have something that can keep the message going and keep the students engaged throughout the time. And why it works is because the students and everybody can aspire to be eco heroes. It's not about being Mr. Eco, it's about becoming an eco hero. And I think that's something that we all can make an impact on. And that's why the brand works. And it sticks through the music. And this is Nancy mentioned in Oakland, this was actually in Brooklyn. It resonates with students everywhere. And this was in New Zealand. I did a tour there. And I was actually, this was one of the coolest moments over the time frame. This was in like 2019, 2018, where I went and performed at schools in New Zealand. And one of them knew who I was before because they had performed a recycle robot dance for their entire school during an Earth Week presentation the year before, that they just found it on YouTube. So if you're looking for something to engage your students and keep the messaging fresh, like hopefully, I'm just giving this as an example because they had never heard of me before. They just found the video on YouTube, and then their entire school was referring to being recycle robots. And this was before I reached out to them a year before. And so, yeah, I'll give you all, I'll put a link that, and you mentioned that you have a resource thing. So maybe you all can just add the YouTube channel there. And just a couple examples. So one song, and I'm excited for Litterati to present a little later, is called Litter Bug. And if you all are feeling in a dancey mood, I'll teach you a little bit of the song. So you put your right hand up and you say, don't. And then you take your left hand, be a, then you cover your mouth, litter, bug, like you're throwing trash. So don't be a litter bug, don't be a litter bug. And then we have another example, sort like crazy, which I think this is focusing on today, which is a great catchy song to encourage the sorting properly. So this one, we go sort and we make an X. So sort, like, touch our shoulders, and then we do a wave motion, crazy. So sort like crazy. Perfect. And Nancy, you're coming on the road with us. These dance moves are awesome from you. I see you. Okay. And then last one example, you know, I mentioned earlier, and as we all know, these are just such big, scary issues as a whole that we're dealing with, but I like to break it down to a kid's level to not scare them and get them to understand the concept. So this is the methane ghost, for example, and the whole goal is to have kids to understand that if they put food in the trash, they're feeding a methane ghost, which is not good for our planet. So this one, we put our right hand up and it goes insane. And then we take our other hand, methane, shake it. And then we do our shoulders 3 times, food, rot, rot, ting. So right hand, insane, methane, food, rot, rot, ting. Cool, looks good. And the main way we've been reaching students is through sponsorships with jurisdictions all up and down California. Shout out to Ruth Ab, who I actually hadn't seen in person before, but they're sponsoring Central Contra Costa. And but yeah, so over 120 cities and counties, and most everybody does want to bring us back year after year. And we reached a lot of students last school year. You know, we had to do all virtual, but we reached 400 individual schools with assemblies, and then we did about the same amount, 500 classroom presentations. So we started doing, it's a game show we created for individual class presentations. And this year we're hoping to do a little bit more. And I am not able to do all these. I have some awesome eco heroes that sidekicks that I've trained, and they do all the content and we do the shows together. Or yeah, so that's that. And I'd like to tell you all a little story about making a difference that we like to use at the end of our shows. It's a variation of the Starfish story, so you all can act it out if you would like to. So one day, you all went to the beach on a vacation, and you were out with your friends taking some selfies. Everybody take some selfies, selfies, selfies. But then you had to stop because the monkey stole your camera, and it was good timing actually because there was a huge storm coming. So everybody had to run inside because of the big storm, and everybody be the waves crashing and thrashing. But the day after the storm was nice. So you decided to grab your surfboard and your sunglasses and head to the beach. But when you got to the beach, you stopped. Dramatically, you stopped because as you looked out on the shore, covering the sand for miles, were thousands of starfish that had washed up from the storm the day before. And you couldn't believe it. And you knew that if these starfish stayed out in the sun, that they would burn and die. So you were running around as fast as you could, picking them up, throwing them into the water, saving them faster, faster, one by one. But then walking up to you was a mean kid who was having a bad day. And this kid said, "Why are you wasting your time picking up starfish? Do you see how many there are? They stretch for miles. You could pick them up all day and you would not have an impact. You would not make a difference. You should just give up and go home." But you knew that that kid was just in a bad mood and that you were making a difference. And you picked up one starfish and you bravely said, just kidding. You picked up one starfish and you said, "It makes a difference to this one." And you tossed it into the water and you saved that starfish. And then everybody else at the beach saw what you're doing and started helping pick up the starfish. And everybody was going faster, faster, faster. And even the kid who was having a rough time started helping. And pretty soon that beach was clean. And we realized together that together, when we act as eco-heroes, we do make an impact, we do make a difference, and it can start with one brave eco-hero just like you that is engaged. All right, everybody. So I know that was kind of all over the place. I gave a little portion of the show excerpts, but if you want to get in contact with me, that is the information there. And yeah, would love for you all to use the music and the videos in as ways to engage students in schools that you all are reaching. And if you want to have us come out, we'd love to do it.
Thank you, Brett, Mr. Eco. Are you able to stay on our webinar to do questions and answers after?
Yeah.
Yes, excellent. Thank you so much. Yeah, and if anybody hasn't listened like Sort Like Crazy before, it's my jam. It is my favorite song, and it's on Spotify too, so you can be listening to it in your car. I actually used that video at the end of my training for Oakland, so even adults get to watch that video. It's so good. Okay, so I'd like to pass the torch to Mallory McGough. So Mallory oversees the 21st Century Leaders for Pleasanton Unified. Take it over, Mallory, please.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Nancy. Hi, I'm Mallory from the Go Green Initiative, and today I'm sharing a presentation from our student leaders. They couldn't be with us here live today in the webinar because they're in class, but they created a video presentation for us about their outreach journey to their schools and communities regarding sorting and contamination. And so they're going to sort of walk you through their journey from learning about these issues and becoming aware to developing their knowledge and skills and finally taking action in their schools and communities. So the students you're going to see in this video are members of our local leaders of the 21st Century Club, and they're also interns for the Go Green Initiative. So I'll go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started.
Hello everyone, we're incredibly excited to share some information with you today about waste reduction, management, and outreach in our communities. All of us are high school students from Amador Valley and Foothill High School in Pleasanton, and we all were interns in the Go Green Initiative summer internship program this past 2021. As a background, the Go Green Initiative is a nonprofit organization founded in 2002 by Mrs. Jill Buck that aims to promote environmental stewardship in communities. In this video, we're going to be talking about the knowledge we had to gain regarding waste contamination and management before conducting our outreach, as well as how we went about communicating with residents and businesses in our community and the lessons we learned through this process.
What got most of us excited about the issue of waste sorting was actually seeing the amount of missorted waste piling up in our own communities. Whether it was through waste audits, bin monitoring, or virtually seeing a recycling center, many of us had participated in the waste issue. Each of us knew that the waste issue wasn't just some far-fetched problem, but a problem that we faced at home.
Education is the primary step in making actionable change within our communities. As Go Green Initiative interns, all of us were already sustainability and environmental advocates, yet still we had a lot to learn about our waste systems, contamination, and the consequences of our daily activities. So before we could conduct any meaningful outreach in our communities and to residents and businesses, we had to educate ourselves and then determine how we as a community can create useful solutions.
Through our internship experience with Go Green Initiative, we had the opportunity to speak with city management and city council members, our local waste hauling service, cow recycle representatives, and various other people in the waste and environmental industry. These interactions allowed us to learn about waste sorting and the types of waste contamination. It also provided us with insight into how state-level laws, such as Senate Bill 1383, impacts workers, residents, and the environment. Listening to first-hand accounts of the fire dangers on PGS trucks and learning how MRF workers must manually sort out improper contamination helped us realize how big of an issue waste contamination is in our community. After learning about specific issues in Pleasanton, we needed to brainstorm ways to reach out and inform other residents. We found out that just showing people the big picture problems without connecting them to the impact in our community wasn't very effective. People needed to see how sorting waste directly affected them and their loved ones in order to care. As educated advocates, it's our job to tell them what waste contamination is and how detrimental its consequences can be.
An effective strategy to initiate solution to large-scale problems such as waste contamination is to understand the misconceptions, struggles, and concerns of the residents. Directly interacting with our community members and guest speakers allowed us to gauge and address the common problems they experienced. For example, we had the opportunity to speak to a representative of the Central Valley Compost, who explained to us that plastic bags were a major contaminant, a fact unknown to many Pleasanton residents, including some of us. The farmers market was a great way for us to engage with our community. By playing a waste sorting game at our booth, we were able to see firsthand which items were most commonly missorted due to confusion. We then addressed and corrected these misunderstandings, and we incorporated this information into our community presentations. We then used some resources such as the Alameda County Stop Waste app and the Pleasanton Garbage Service infographics to help alleviate some of the confusion that residents had about proper waste sorting.
Using this information, we developed 3 types of deliverables to effectively target the issues highlighted: social media posts, community guidelines, and infographics. Our goal with these deliverables was to promote proper waste sorting habits and educate residents on the impact of waste contamination. With this in mind, we created a 5-week waste challenge to engage residents and businesses in reducing waste and contamination. Spanning from World Food Day on October 16th to America Recycles Day on November 15th, our toolkit contains dozens of ready-to-go social media posts to educate and engage. We achieved commitments from our city, school district, and local waste haulers to participate.
We also worked directly with our city management and waste haulers to create easy-to-understand infographics that address various issues, such as plastic bag contamination and correct bin sorting. Our experience shows that it's much more beneficial to have a visual-based post, so it's clear from the start what we're talking about, rather than needing to have community members spend their valuable time reading through the posts to try and figure out what they're looking for. These graphics address specific misconceptions and problems that our city management and waste haulers witnessed in Pleasanton. The city has been instrumental in helping to distribute our material digitally through their websites and also in the form of door hangers and inserts into residents' waste service bills.
Additionally, this summer, we were able to conduct 30 community presentations and engage target audiences of businesses, city council members, ordinary residents, school district administrators, as well as our own peers, school sports teams, and local HOAs. In these sessions, we prioritized reviewing commonly missorted items, the Pleasanton Waste Sorted Guidelines, and had an open Q&A session. By reaching out to specific groups individually, we were able to tailor our community presentations to each audience. For example, with the student council at a local high school, we were able to make our presentation focus on changes that they could facilitate on a school-wide level in order to prevent waste contamination. We are continuing these presentations through our local leaders clubs. After community members learn all of this new information, our focus shifts to providing them with additional resources to change deep-rooted improper waste sorting and contamination habits. However, we can only give so many examples of what goes in each bin. At the end of the day, each person will almost certainly come across an item that they are unsure about that we did not mention. As interns, a resource we found helpful and one that many people were not aware of was the Resource app, which allows for members of the Alameda County and a few others in our region to search for which bins specific waste items go into in their respective cities. Additionally, the app allows for them to be more conscious about e-waste, as they are given specific instructions on how to dispose of batteries and hazardous waste at drop-off locations nearby. We made sure to direct people to this app to ensure sustainability and self-sufficiency.
So now to sum up some of the key findings in our internship. Prior to actually conducting any form of community outreach, we had to learn the logistics of how waste systems operate right here in Pleasanton, how our trash is processed and where it ends up, and the manual sorting of contamination that Pleasanton garbage service workers must endure daily, and city and statewide laws such as SB 1383 and their impacts. This helped us build sensitivity and awareness to the issues in Pleasanton, and specifically waste reduction and management.
By interacting directly with residents, our waste haulers, and city management, we were able to identify and target specific problem areas and gain support from these organizations in sharing and distributing our outreach materials. Having gained this knowledge, it became significantly easier to anticipate the problems residents are having with sorting and create outreach material that would be useful and informative.
All right, so I'll share some links in the chat that they mentioned throughout the video. And I'm sure they're hoping that anyone out there can use those links and copy and to replicate in their community. So I'll also send a link to the video on YouTube in case there are any issues viewing. And now I think we'll hear from Alina with Litterati.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's exciting to be here and present to you and wear multiple hats, one being my Litterati hat, which is my full-time job, and the other hat being the NCRA Schools Committee hat, where I get to work with wonderful folks that do really incredible work like you just saw. So the presentation I have for you is all about how Litterati as a tool could be used for schools, and I will start sharing that right now. All right, so the first question I have for you all for a little bit of interaction is if you can add a reaction or put it in the chat. If raise your hand if your school is currently using mobile apps in the classroom. Just curious to see what that looks like here in this group of almost 100 people, how that's going for you today. Anybody using mobile apps in any of the work that you do? Awesome. I saw a couple of hands, at least Nancy, because I know we're working together. Thanks, Anne, for confirming you too, and other folks. So this is what this presentation is about, how technology can lend a hand in the classroom and engage students. So we've seen pictures like this, and it's common, and this is what I share with students when we do work in classrooms, to say that this litter is prevalent, and like Mr. Eco said, it's out there, and it's something that starts conversations, and students want to have those conversations. We've all been aware of Fridays for the Future and all the movements that have been going on, and we know that young people really want to see that change and to be a part of it. And so we hope that with some of the tools that we have in our toolkit, we can prepare students, and with your support and leadership as administrators and teachers and professionals in your field, you can ignite some of that change through awareness of different tools and resources. And so, does litter matter? Does it even appear to the eye if it's not pointed out? And sometimes it's no. And when you look at this picture, there's so much here that it's hard to see what happens next. But when I look at it, I see opportunities for recycling, opportunities to enforce plastic bag bans, and then also opportunities to change our packaging from styrofoam and polystyrene products. And that's all that Litterati is aiming to do, with the help of students who engage with our platform and gather the data. So these are some of the case studies that we've had over the time that we've been in business, and some of the ones that speak loudest to you all might be around our local Bay Area ban in San Francisco for cigarette butts, but also engagement with students in schools, where they picked up 15,000 pieces in Philadelphia and took some of that data with the help of their administrators to enact a plastic ban for bags. And it was really wildly successful, and I'm very much looking to see how various cities can collaborate. Another example that I wanted to share, and one that really ties back into engagement and how to take something that is a tool like Litterati, bring it to your classrooms, and then see how it blooms. Is work that we're doing with our city partner in Lodi, where we've been working with them for a little over a year now, and we've had this opportunity to partner with teachers, and those teachers shared the app and shared the tools that we've been providing to the teacher cohort, and they are now working with their students, and the students are the ones that are driving some of this change. So during the pandemic, we saw how difficult it was to organize groups. Folks were distributed, nobody was together. Cleanups were impossible to do the way that they were done before. And Lodi really saw this as an opportunity to leverage Litterati to do decentralized cleanups. And over the course of last year, it's been really wonderful to see how much engagement they've had, and how the city itself has projected some of this information out through social media channels like you see here, created assets to share with students and the community at large, and motivated a really wide network of people to participate. And this is some of the resulting data. So students, as well as community members, gathered together and collected litter throughout Lodi. And it is a work in progress, and things are still going on, but it's really neat to see that it was a combination of student work that led to more and more litter being collected, and that it started from one litter challenge and kept growing. So the next few parts of this presentation will be about what the app itself looks like. And so I just really quickly wanted to demonstrate what the app itself can be. So let me exit here, and can you all still see my screen? Thumbs up or yes from anybody?
Looks good.
Awesome, great. So grateful to Ariel for letting me share some of the information that we have here for Stop Waste. And Stop Waste is a partner for us here in the San Francisco Bay Area and in Alameda County. And that's what I'll be showing you here. So when you first get to the app, once you download it, you're able to see this screen, and that's your first key to understanding. Like, we are in a global opportunity to collect litter. We've collected almost 15 million pieces of litter, and then the data here is kind of hoping to drive you to take your own individual actions. And as you use the app, it's fairly intuitive. Take pictures, track your activity, and then tag the individual litter items within the app with the litter AI that will help you with those suggestions, and then keep going. And the millions of pieces that are collected, and that is all done through some of the challenges that folks can participate in. Once you've downloaded the app, you'll be able to see some of this on your screens as well. And I'll share to you the challenge code for how to get started. But the app is just one part of the equation. So I'll also share with you this dashboard. And this is a quick view of what's happening with Stop Waste. So you can see that throughout the course of this year, there's been a lot of engagement, especially in the fall when school started again. You can begin to see where the challenges are taking place, and you can see locally where the challenge is happening with the geo-bound area here, and who the participants are, as well as what the data was that was collected overall. So when you come back into your classrooms, think about this opportunity as a way to engage students to use a mobile app to collect data that you can then see in a digital dashboard and be able to really take action. So we have lesson plans, and speeding through here, we have lesson plans on edu.litterati.org that were put together by STEM teachers, and really hope to give a starting point, a way for folks to understand how to take the opportunity and share with students something that they can then leverage as action. And what comes about is a sea of data to hopefully bring about a sea of change, because ultimately data does drive policy. And this is what we want to see in our future, that data-driven policy towards more bans on plastic, more understanding of how waste impacts our ecosystems and what we can do about it. So download the app. This is a quick QR code that you can scan right now if you wanted to help take the first step in being a part of your community and collecting litter. If you're interested in partnering with Litterati, we engage with cities. And if you're interested in starting your own free account, you can do that too and start your own challenge. And if there are any questions or if there's any support needed, we are here to help. And that's a wrap for me.
Thank you, Alina. I think a huge value with Litterati, with everything else that Alina already shared, right? Just the action core of that work, especially with the work that Amanda Halte and I do with Recycle Smart and Central Contra Costa, is that with our high school students, they were kind of troubled with what they could be doing at their school during this pandemic times, where
getting bins and students to properly sort on their campus is a little challenging, just given all the other priorities. But they're immediately able to gravitate, and we're so excited about Litterati. And we're really fortunate where Alina came and presented to them. So I think they really appreciated having like an expert content person come and support. And then they took the lead and followed it up this year on their own. They're like, oh, FYI, we're working with Litterati again. We're like, okay, we passed this torch. We've empowered those students. So if we can switch over to questions and thoughts and kind of open up the floor. Amanda, do you want to take the lead on questions that have been put in the chat box, and let's have a discussion with our three presenters?
Absolutely. I think specifically related to Litterati, Kelvin was commenting on what type of litter is collected in specific geographic locations. Was that a comment on the power of it, or was that a question?
The question I had here in Los Angeles, the LAUSD, they have certain goals that they are looking to reach. And within the school curriculum, after school in particular, they attempt to meet those goals. I'm wondering if that is a driver for this in Northern California.
That's a great question. I see that it does vary depending on what state we're in, what area of the globe we're in terms of the litter goals that folks set. And specifically within California, because of all of the legislation that we all are a part of and know and love with single-use plastics, there's a focus on that type of litter. And as you go through different areas, folks do want to understand that. That's why the data is so fascinating to look at, because you task students with collecting litter overall, and then you ask them to identify what they collected through the labeling and look at that data together. So how many plastic bottles did they collect within a Lodi around Tokay High? And then what is that next step that they could take? Will they maybe install water dispensers instead of selling plastic water bottles? So kind of thinking about what are the goals for your city, what are the goals for your county, what are the goals for your school, and then creating challenges around that for students to collect litter.
And maybe just to anyone else from the NCRA schools team want to add on to that, where the question was, do Rotary clubs have specific goals? Are there certain clubs that have specific goals for litter pickup?
Actually, the question I had was in the high school level interact. Here in Southern California, they have an enormous amount of beach cleanups and things like this. So I'm wondering, and I'm curious because I've never heard of this, and I'm in Southern California, and I'm wondering to see if it could be adapted. So the idea of, I've been on tons of beach cleanups as part of my local Rotary. So are there initiatives within Rotary where, oh, we're going to attach our students who are in interact clubs to Litterati, so then there's an incentive to, at the beach cleanup or at the neighborhood cleanup, et cetera, we can look at what we're doing and then they can say, high five, good job.
I think the trick is getting the word out there. So we have come across a lot of clubs in our high schools, at least for the Bay Area, that have like beach cleanup, litter things. It's like, oh, did you know about Litterati? You could be measuring those cleanups or identifying like the troublemakers when you're doing those cleanups. It's letting them know that Litterati exists and how for them to use it.
So I think the answer is, to our knowledge, it does not exist on Litterati, but you can create it and share that with them. And there are not any other questions in the chat box that I see. So, oh, Anne has something in there. Oh, there it is. Can you give me an example of how a city can adapt this and or launch a challenge? Specifically, this is for Litterati, I assume. Anne, you want to chime in on anything else?
Okay. Yeah, so we are a tool. We're here for schools, we're here for cities, and it's a free tool to the extent that you can launch a challenge for free. You can look at your challenge participant data for free in order to get a little bit more data and have access to some of the tools that I showed you with reporting. That's where we as a service provider have costs. But to get started, I just recommend downloading the app, going to your app store, finding Litterati, walking through the setup process for your own account, and then launching a challenge. Once you've launched a challenge, there's a challenge code at the bottom of the challenge that you can share with others, and people start participating that way. So it's really kind of that seed of change. You're the one that starts the challenge, and you have the opportunity to make it as big or small as you like. And I'm happy to support questions further if you all would like to collaborate. We are definitely looking for partners. If you're in the Bay Area, specifically within Alameda County, we'd love for you all to participate in the Stop Waste program and be a part of that as well.
Thank you, Alina. I think she's put her contact information in the chat as well. And Mr. Eco, there is a question to you on how do they contact you for presentations to students? You want to take the floor?
Sure. Yeah, just I'll put it in the chat, ecoheroshow.com. And yeah, that will have everything in a contact box as well.
There's a more general question, I think, for our webinar. Will there be information about sorting food waste at schools and the collection plan for that? Anyone from our NCRA schools team want to take on our current recommendations for food waste?
Amanda, maybe you would like to share in the chat the resource link to our past webinars and also the best practices guide so that folks can see the resources that we have for proper sorting, food waste, food scraps, and other things. That might be a big help. And if folks would respond to our survey, if folks want to have more information about sorting or other things, we're looking for the next webinar series and what things you would like us to cover. So I'll put that again in the chat. And Amanda, I think there was a question from Maggie for Mallory.
Yes, let's see. Where is that?
For student-led projects, that one. You see
yes,
that?
Okay. And Maggie, chime in to clarify, but for student-led school projects and ongoing programs, what systems do you recommend to set in place for the project to continue after the student leaders have graduated?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's something our students are always working on. So the students you heard from today are members of a club on their high school campus. And so that club moves the work forward throughout the years. So it's really institutionalizing within the club. Also, those students are members of their school site green team. So they work with their administrators, teachers, and custodians on campus to institutionalize those systems of sorting and educating the campus community. And something they're excited to get back to this year, now that we're back on campus, is working with their elementary and middle school students in their area to educate on these topics as well, so that when those students arrive to their high school, they will already be well versed in this and be prepared to carry it forward as well.
Maggie, did that answer your question? Any follow-up comments?
No, that's great. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Julie, any suggestions on how to best get buy-in from custodians? I think that might be another webinar question because that's a whole topic, but Nancy, do you want to chime in there?
Well, we do have a webinar that we hosted. Was that the last one or the two ago, where it's based on custodians? Pleasanton Unified presented on custodial involvement, and we had a pretty robust conversation. And then in our spreadsheet, there's some different resources towards custodians in there as well. And if you want to fill out that survey and, you know, kind of scan over what we've got, and then where you think we might be missing to have more of a discussion about it. And I think we could be talking about it every session. The custodial is a key component. So definitely.
Yeah, so this is our resource page. I put the link in the chat, and you can see if you click on this page, it gets to a Google Doc with a lot of resources, including how to sort, how to work with custodial staff, best practices for working with custodial staff. And then we've had 2 webinars on the custodial perspective in May 2021, and then a custodial training in July 2021. Your custodians are key to the success of your program. Teachers and students, and all of our resources for inspiring teachers and students can help, but we need to drive the program at the facility manager and custodial level, and then everything that we can do with students and teachers, eco heroes, and everyone else will help us to be successful in our programs.
And I think the thing too, with considering the spreadsheet that we have so far, if anybody has resources that you think any of us could benefit from, so we're not recreating the wheel or any innovative things that you've done, if you can send those our way and we can add those. I do have the good fortune to work with the scrap team that's in the Monterey County area, and it's Salinas Recycling. I reached out to them to see what resources they've got. And it's just always so great to see what others are working on that we can borrow. So I'm putting that in the chat box for the resources that they've got, but it would be great if folks could submit any of the resources that they have, that we could be combining that spreadsheet to be even more robust. I do have a question for you, Mr. Eco. On your presentations, like how does that look like for schools when they're trying to figure out a specific thing? Is there a conversation that you have with the school lead for what your presentations will be focused on?
So most of the time, the funding source where we're getting the funding dictates the type of show, but then we're able to add, specific things if a school lead is reaching out and says, hey, can you talk about this? Or, that's an easy addition and something that we can make accommodate to the school.
And then I'm curious, what are you working on for future? What's some exciting things that you have in the pipeline that we haven't seen yet?
I have a new album that I'm about to release that is holiday themed. So how to be an eco hero around different holidays. So I'm excited about that, and gonna start filming a couple of music videos for the first time. And well, I don't know if you all heard about this thing called COVID, but it kind of made everything hard. So excited to get some new music and videos out there.
When I played the Sort Like Crazy to our food service staff for Oakland, they're like, well, why Alameda Unified? Why he's got to come to Oakland to film? I'm like, hey, Alameda, they're our neighbors. We're in partnership with them so closely. They're like family, and they're like, okay. Does anybody else have any questions or thoughts or things that they want to discuss? And you're welcome to unmute. Okay, it's a rainy day. Do we want to queue up our ending?
Yes,
I think
we're
so.
ready. You ready, Mr. Eco?
Yes. Okay. All right, everybody. So we're gonna end with the Sort Like Crazy. So I'm just gonna share the screen here and play it. There is a little bit of a delay if I try to wrap it live. So but does everybody, let's go through the dance one more time. So everybody, let's make an X. So it goes sort, and then we touch our shoulders like, and then we do a wave motion, crazy. So sort like crazy, sort like crazy. And then the next part is we do thumbs up, yes, and then thumbs down, no, and then maybe, yes, no, maybe, yes, no, maybe. Awesome. All right, let's do it. So I'm going to share and optimize the sound and video clip. Okay, here we go.
We don't let nothing go to the trash in my school. Let me tell you how.
All right, everybody, let's dance.
Eco, let go. One day after a show, Eco went to go look in the school's dumpster. Had to wonder, what did the janitor want me to see? Whoa. I could not believe 600 kids in one bag of trash. How do you do that? Most schools I go to have styrofoam trays. Got rid of those unhealthy, made too much waste. Most schools I go to waste food, it's crazy. Our students and teachers care about climate change. They pour out liquids, recycle.
Okay, you ready for the dance again?
You trash it, composting you. In the lunchroom, end of the period, left with one trash bag. I'm serious, I'ma show you how we do that. Start lunch at 10:13, gotta eat in a hurry. Any food able, put on the shit table. The rest, the best ever sorting helps before recess. With our sorting, they pour out liquids, recycle.
Y'all, last time, we're gonna bring it home.
Plastic, you trash it. Composting you. You trash it, composting you. Hey! Deuces.
All right.
That's fantastic. Not to be outdone, the NCRA Schools Committee also did a video, and none of us are rap masters like Mr. Eco, but it's pretty good. Nice, some folks in this one. Whoa. Okay, let me see if I can do it.
Sort, you need to sort now. Sort, not just any bin now. Sort, you know it's not all trash. Sort.
When I was younger, so much younger than today, never needed anybody's help in any way. But now those days are gone and our trash cans are replaced. Now it's cool, they changed the rules. We gotta set our ways.
Gotta have 3 bins, keep landfill down. Yes, it will alleviate that big trash mound. 3 streams for our meals and our playground. Won't you please sort, please?
And now the lunchroom things in oh so many ways. Sort at your table, life will better in a maze. And every now and then when I feel insecure, I know that I can look at the size like I've said before.
Gotta have 3 bins, keep landfill down. Yes, it will alleviate that big trash mound. 3 streams for our meals and our playground. Won't you please, please sort, please sort, please sort, please. Ooh.
We're channeling your energy, Brett.
I think you all were doing raps before me. How old is, no? No? Okay. Well, I heard about you all at the NCRA conferences, so it's awesome.
All right, folks, I think that's a wrap for this session. Thank you so much for attending. And if you can, fill out the survey so that we can get an idea of where some needs are for future webinars. Any resources, material that we can share on our NCRA spreadsheet would be much appreciated. And wishing everybody a fabulous, safe, and wet day.
Ruth, how are you going to share that last video?
Oh, you mean like in the link?
Yes.
All right, I will do that. NCRArecycles.org, NCRA players. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.